So we're in lesson 11, which is signs. What is a sign? When you think of sign, someone says the word sign, what do you think? What goes through your mind? Biblical, it could be physical, whatever. It's just what goes through your mind when you think of a sign.
Think a symbol of information, whether it's telling you to do something or watch out for something, or even show that something's happening. It's a representation of something in a picture, form, or event that shows act or asks for action, I guess you say.
Okay, okay, okay. Anyone else? So y'all don't pay attention to signs. That's why we have all them accidents on the road. Y'all ain't paying attention to signs. Y'all know what signs are? It warns you something. Yeah. Um, and you have, I'm an old DOT guy, so I guess I always refer to, driving and whatnot, transportation related type things. But there are all types of signs, right? There, signs for, open, closed, at a restaurant or a business or something, right? Uh, uh, but yeah, generally signs are giving you information, telling you something. Some warn you. Some they may tell you that you're doing all right, that you're traveling the right way. You know, if you go out here right now, you want to know how to get to aspirin. There's probably a sign out there that says aspirin, take a left or whatever, right? Albany, keep straight, whatever. America's a U-turn, got to go the other way. So, and about how far it is too, they'll tell you that too. Yes, sir.
I think one of those things too, most people probably think of it like this, but a sign is somewhat of a sense of direction.
Hmm. Okay. 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 I was getting to that. Very good. Boy, I'm getting scared now, Jane. All right. Yeah. It's kind of lets you know where you are, where you're going, huh? Where you headed.
What
Are you headed in the right direction? Kind of confirms that you are, or kind of tells you, hey, you're going wrong. You need to,
things that you did,
yeah.
did you do the right thing, or
Oh,
was it right, or was the timing right?
yeah. 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 So there are other signs besides the ones that's just stuck in the ground there, right? Okay. 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 All right. All right. So that's what this lesson is about. It's about signs, and we're going to discuss. So I intend to discuss. Um, hopefully, we can get it all in. The seven signs that Jesus, uh, uh, you could say, he performed them, or that he that he uh, I guess showed people and things of that nature. Signs in this case could be another. Um, some people may call them miracles. Things that were uh, that you just don't see every day. That Jesus did. But John in John 20, we're in John 20. John 20 calls them signs. Yes, sir.
It's like this morning, the prayer I said this morning. I mentioned how God puts people in our lives, and a lot of people don't take that for what it is, because everybody meets all types of people, good, bad, you know, alcoholics, drug addicts, homeless people. But there's always a message in whoever you meet, because he does things for a reason. And everything he does for us, good or bad, is to get us to the next part of our life, or get us closer to where he wants us. So a lot of times we won't look at it, we won't take it for what it is, so we don't move. And one of the main things is we talk about love. You know, it's easy for me to walk up and say, I love you. But how easy it is for me to put that love into action. So when somebody's looking at me, what am I telling them? Am I telling them that I love them, or, you know,
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I can agree that I think things happen for a reason, you know, and we're put in a certain place. Certain people are put into our lives, and we're put into their lives for some place. But I'm not sure those aren't the signs necessarily. But yes, I do think there's a divine purpose for for most things that happen. Um, you know, so um, I just saw this last week, and I don't know if this has anything to do with what we're talking about, but I'm gonna throw it in here anyway. Uh, um, you know, there's stories about, like when 9/11 happened. You know, when the planes flew into the world. Was it the World Trade Center? You know, towers, the twin towers there. You know, killed several people, right? And big time disaster. There were people that were late for work that day. You know, or somebody wasn't feeling well when they woke up, or somebody, well, I had to take my child to, daycare that day, and or I got caught in traffic. There was an accident on, so and so, and I got behind time, and so they weren't there, when it happened, and even though they were scheduled to be there every day, and so those, there's several stories like that. Um, do you see that as a sign or whatever, or a miracle or whatever? I don't know. But things happen in our lives, for for a reason. Um, but like I said, I'm not sure if that's necessarily a miracle, but we could tie it together. We could tie it together. All right, so yeah, I think there are signs. So we're going to hopefully get some good discussion and get an understanding and of the signs that Jesus performed, are the ones that are discussed in John. He discussed several. I mean, he performed several, but John discussed uh, mostly seven of those signs. So we want to kind of dig into those. Okay, so as we go. All right. So what are these signs for? Why are these signs? So let's go to John 20 and 19. Someone please read verses 19 through 23. Someone.
In 19 through 23,
Yes, ma'am.
now he said, now he said this, indicating by what kind of death it would glorify God. And when he had said
This is
this,
John 20 now. John 20.
sorry, everybody.
You're right. You're right. I'm gonna tell you. Let me tell you. I saw a whole lot of people like looking around like that. Didn't say a word. They didn't say a word.
Okay, 20 and 19.
Yes, ma'am.
Now when it was evening on the first day of the week, and when the doors were shut, were the disciples together due to fear of the Jews. Jesus came and stood in their midst and said to them, Peace be unto you. And when he said this, he showed them both his hands and his side. The disciples then rejoiced when they saw the Lord. So Jesus said to them again, Peace be unto you. Just as the Father sent me, I also send you. And he had said, and when he had said this, he breathed on them and said, Receive the Holy Spirit. If you forgive the sins of any, their sins have been forgiven them. If you retain the sins of any, they have been retained.
All right. Good, good. All right. So I believe we all know this story. This is John 20. This is John's um 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 his recollection of this. This is after Jesus had been crucified and he had passed away, and they had placed him in the tomb. And then Mary, if you read the verses before that, Mary went to visit, and she saw that the stone had been rolled away. She went in there. Well, she went back and told John, and I believe it was Peter, that that the tomb had been rolled away. Peter and John ran there. Um, when you go back and read it, John doesn't say, he doesn't speak of himself. He says the other disciple. He'll say other disciple, that Jesus loved. He says that, right? And that's how he refers to himself. But everyone, all scholars and biblical scholars say, yeah, he's speaking of himself. So I'm gonna take their word for it too. All right, but he mentions in there that he ran faster than Peter, and got there before Peter. Yeah, that's funny. It's kind of funny to me. Uh, Two were running together, and the other disciple ran ahead faster than Peter and came to the tomb first. So just I don't know, just human nature, I guess. Yeah. I won that race. But anyway, all right. So they get there, um and they see the you know the you know the cloth that had been wrapped around Jesus. When someone passed in those days, they would put oils and and frankincense and scents and things like that on them and wrap them up, so that the body would wouldn't smell, and so as it, I guess, decomposed over time. Um, so they came there, and they saw the wrappings, laying there. Of course, Jesus was not there. And then they went back to their homes, but Mary stayed there, and um, an angel, two angels actually, came to her. Um, um, One was at the head, one was at the feet of where the body had been lying. And they said to her, "Why are you weeping?" And she said, "Because they've taken away my Lord." And she turned around and she saw someone, and um, and um, and it was actually Jesus, but she didn't recognize him as Jesus. And she said, he said, excuse me, he said, "Woman, why are you weeping? Whom are you seeking?" So she thought he was like a gardener or someone that was working there. And she said, "If you've carried him away, sir, if you've carried him away, you know, and tell me where you've laid him, and I'll take him away." And then Jesus says Mary. He calls her name, and then at this time when he calls her name, she recognizes him, who he is. And then he tells her, um, "Go to my brethren, tell them I ascended to my Father and your Father, my God and your God." And of course and then she goes and goes and tells him. Then, so now we're at verse 19. On the first evening on that day, it was eating on the first day of the week, excuse me. So what's the first day of the week? Sunday. So, uh, as was the cultural tradition, as we've been tasked to do, you meet on the first day of the week, right? So that's what the disciples were doing. All right, so they were meeting. But they had the doors closed. uh, and why was that? Yeah, fear of the Jews, fear of the Jews. Why? What does that mean? Because of fear of the Jews, for fear of the Jews, as it says it here.
So you just had the whole event of Jesus being crucified and all that. And remember that Peter was there and they had said, "Hey, weren't you with him?" And he ended up denying it three times because he was fearing for his life.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
So obviously at that point, hey, if Peter's afraid, there's probably some other people that weren't mentioned that just didn't have that outward expression of being afraid, but they kind of he ain't back.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You can kind of what's the meme thing with it? Was it Bart Simpson's daddy? What's Bart Simpson's daddy? Homer Simpson. Where he backs up into the bushes, kind of cover him up. You, y'all ever seen that?
Yeah.
Okay, so some y'all hadn't seen it. Huh? Anyway, it's like a little meme that you'll see, and I guess when somebody's trying to hide or whatever, he'll start backing up and in the bushes, kind of cover him up. So anyway, I can kind of see the disciples maybe doing that at that time. I mean, they took Jesus and hung him on the cross. They we saw all that he went through. Had to carry his cross, and I can understand a little fear being there. Yes, sir, Mike. He's raising your hand.
I just wanted to clarify, they were afraid of the Jewish leaders, Sanhedrin and those guys, because they had the power to take them.
I agree. I agree. I agree. But also think when Pontius Pilate asks, "Who do y'all want?" They didn't want Barabbas. The people were yelling they wanted Jesus of Nazareth. So it's the people too. So it wasn't just the leaders. It was those. So it was the leaders, yes, but it was also the others. There's a lot of opposition out there. A lot of opposition. The crowds were yelling for Jesus to be prosecuted and persecuted and hung. All right, so there was a lot of people against him, so I kind of understand them meeting in kind of in private, you know. Um, and so Jesus comes to him and says, "Peace be with you," and they see him, and of course they're rejoicing. Um, and he breathes the Holy Spirit into them. He breathes the Holy Spirit into them, uh, and um, And he tells them, if you forgive sins of any, their sins are forgiven, but if you retain those sins, they're retained. Okay. So now, but all of the disciples weren't there at the time. Um, we know for sure wasn't one wasn't there, right? Um, who was that one? Yeah, Thomas. But there was another one too that wasn't there. Yeah, Judas was the other one. So, um, and of course we know Judas is the one that had betrayed him. Um, but we can flip back to Matthew. John doesn't go into it here, but if you will, someone go to Matthew. Let's go to Matthew 27 and read verses 3 through 10, I believe.
Judas, the one who betrayed him, realized that Jesus was doomed. Overcome with remorse, he gave back the 30 silver coins to the high priest, saying, I've sinned, I betrayed an innocent man. They say, what do we care? That's your problem. Judas threw the silver coins into the temple and left. Then he went out and hung himself. The high priest picked up the silver pieces, but then didn't know what to do with them. It wouldn't be right to give this a payment for murder as an offering in the temple. They decided to get rid of it by buying the potter's field to use it as a burial place for the homeless. That's how the field got its called Myrtle Meadow, a name that has stuck to this day. Then Jeremiah's words became history. They took the 30 silver pieces, the price of one twice, of 10 sons of Israel, and they purchased the potter's field. And so they unwittingly followed the divine instructions to the letter.
All right. All right. So we see, um, so of course Judas wasn't there and Thomas. We don't know why Thomas wasn't there, but Thomas wasn't there, but we do know why Judas wasn't there. So he felt remorseful and gave the 30 pieces of silver back, and which they didn't want him, but anyway, he committed suicide, hanging himself. So, all right, so um, and it said it fulfilled a prophecy of Jeremiah, and um, as you as you go to Jeremiah, you can look in Jeremiah 18 and 19, where it speaks of a potter and a potter's field. It gives you that type of imagery of a potter uh, uh, destroying his pot. If it's not shaped up right, he can kind of reshape it, but once it's done, he may destroy that one and build another one. It talks about, us being, kind of a metaphor for us being clay and the potter shaping us, as well. And so that's part of it. But the 30 pieces of silver are actually mentioned in Zechariah 11, um, and where it mentions, um, the princely price that was set on me is mentioned there. And so 30 pieces of silver, basically, that was the price that they paid for Jesus to be killed, to be murdered, I guess, as Sister Gail read. All right, so if you will, let's read verses 24 through 29, please. In John 20. Go back to John 20. Um, so Judas wasn't there, but now we're going to kind of talk about Thomas a little bit, or discuss Thomas a little bit. Uh, Verses 24 through 29.
Thomas, one of the 12, called Didymus, was not with them when Jesus came. So the other disciples were saying to him, "We have seen the Lord." But he said to them, "Unless I see in his hands the imprint of the nails, and put my finger into the place of the nails, and put my hand into his side, I will not believe." After 8 days, his disciples were again inside, and Thomas with them. Jesus came, the doors having been shut, and stood in their midst and said, "Peace be with you." Then he said to Thomas, "Reach here with your finger and see my hands, and reach here your hands and put it in my side. And do not be unbelieving, but believing." Thomas answered and said to him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to him, "Because you have seen me, have you believed? Blessed are they who did not see me and yet believe."
Okay. All right. So does Thomas remind y'all of anybody? Does it remind you of yourself sometimes?
Yeah, we receive a lot of signs and things that's been done in our lives to demonstrate God's power and His ability to care for us and to save us. A lot of times we love stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Hmm. How many of you are told something by somebody? They say, "Well, yeah, this happened to me. It worked out just like this." And y'all still sitting there like, unless I see that, I don't know. I don't know about that one. All right? We got to see it and touch it for ourselves. Got to see it and touch it for ourselves. Which I guess that's the term, you've always heard, I guess, doubting Thomas. You've heard people refer to that. So, um, so in my view, this is where it comes from. I didn't come up with the term, but I'm assuming this is where the term came from. So, doubting Thomas. But there are just some people that way. Um, what is it? Is it Pennsylvania? They the show me state. Missouri. Okay, okay, Missouri. Yeah, yeah, yeah. So uh, so you meet anybody from Missouri, you can't just tell them something. You got to show them that whole state that way. But yeah, but there are those that say, "Yeah, you can't just tell me. I can't just read about it." And and I can understand, some things, but wanting to see the proof of it, unless you prove it to them, they just don't believe you. You know. Now, is that, in your opinion, is that a good trait to have, a bad trait to have? Is it based on, is it bad for the person that does the doubting? Or is it just that the person that's telling them that they don't trust them? Maybe that's a bad trait on, if Martin's telling me something I don't believe him, is it because I have a bad trait of not trusting, or is it Martin's got a bad trait of lying to me? I don't know. I don't know what do y'all think? Is it both? A little bit of both.
I think it's just to make sure everybody's on the same page, figuratively and literally. Everybody's on the same page because just as I said it, I mean, you heard it the way I said it, and I could interpret it different. So, like at school, I know I go back to school a lot. I like to have, like, dress code is something that's big right now. But I didn't see that in there. You didn't say that. I didn't say it. It's right here. And the dress code been the same since 2021. But it's what people heard. They don't take a chance to read it. And then at the bottom it says administrative discretion, which is me. So just gotta be consistent. But have it written doesn't mean I don't think it's bad on anybody's side. It's just to make sure everybody knows what was done and what was said. So you might have heard it one way and forgot it, or this way. It just keeps it even. I don't think it shows a weakness on anybody's part. It's just the fact that that's just something you have and go back and refer to.
Okay. Gotcha. All right. Yes, ma'am. Got another comment
Now, I hope I'm not taking us out, but I just want to build off what he said, because we were talking about Thomas, right? And and in that case, I do think it just depends on the purpose of the case, because in that case, didn't Jesus tell them he wouldn't leave them, or that he would come back, and he forgot it? So I guess being back on the page is remembering, bringing that back to your memory to say, okay, and Jesus, why would I have a reason not to believe in him? So in that case, I don't think he should have been. But it happens.
Yeah.
Sometimes we have to.
All right, ain't nobody over there. Yeah, fam, ain't nobody on the other side.
Good. James Hall.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah. And who am I to judge them on this? But yeah, the disciples they saw a lot of signs, a lot of miracles. They saw Jesus do a lot of things. Why would you doubt after a while when you just start, saying, yeah, he I'm sure he can do that because he did this, and this. Yeah. And all the disciples are telling him, yeah, he came back. He's yeah. So I don't know. I don't know. It's a easy for me to question. Yeah.
I think this is the other part of it. Remember where we stopped on the last lesson where we were talking about it, saying he told them that he was awake and that he had to leave and prepare. So you got to keep in mind, they said, hey, I didn't know where you were going. We don't understand where you're going.
Yeah.
So then you take that and put it in the context of the crucifixion happening, him being buried. So to them, they haven't made that connection between the physical and the spiritual.
Yeah.
And him knowing, as when they met again, a week later they met, how Thomas is disbelieving. The thing that comes out is that Thomas didn't try to hide that he wasn't there yet. And so Jesus comes and seeks him out directly because I know that you have this issue. Let me come in and show you this so that you can have the disbelief removed from because you need to see. So I'm gonna make sure you see.
Yeah. And that's the first thing he did, right?
Yeah, came straight to.
Because he knew he had said that, even though he wasn't there when he said, well, unless I touch him, and touch the side or whatever, So Jesus like, come in, I'm show you something. All right, so we'll stop there. James Hall back there.